Hello and welcome to my channel, Ghost Dog here. Now today's video was supposed to be part 2 of Matt Powell's in-depth talk on marriage. However, a news article hit my feed today and I felt that this needed to be covered more. You'll all have to bear with me as this is unscripted. Probably is going to be a few pauses and gaps, but I felt that I needed to do this video and try and express how upset and angry I am. It's rather disturbing and very, very upsetting. Now before I begin, a little trigger warning. What you're about to hear, as I say, is very upsetting, very disturbing. Bodycam footage shows non-verbal autistic man carrying a cooking spoon being tasered repeatedly after he is unable to follow Georgia cops' instructions to get down. Now there is a video to this, however I will link it down below, but I'm not going to show it here. I just want to read off snippets of this article. So let's begin. On 4th of September around 8:30 p.m, officers received a 911 call regarding a man carrying a weapon near the Dollar General store in Stafford Avenue in Brunswick. According to Glen County Police Department's dispatch told responding officers the man was screaming and hitting himself in the head. Bodycam footage released by the police department. Officers appear to encounter the man, identified as 21-year-old Rajan Cherry, holding an object in his hand. The video later reveals that the object is a cooking spoon. The video appears to show the officer telling Cherry, who is walking slowly towards them, to drop the object. The officer, with his taser drawn, repeats the command 4 other times before firing the taser. That in itself should tell you something. There is a gentleman with something in his hand, non-threatening, walking slowly towards the officers, and their first reaction is to shout at him, tell him to get down on the floor, and when that fails, shoot him. Now, if Cherry had been a neurotypical person, then maybe he would have been able to follow and understand the instructions from the police officers. But the police didn't identify him as being anything other than neurotypical. And at no point did the police try to de-escalate the situation. If anything, they escalated, because that's in their training. They don't know any other way. Let's continue. Cherry screams, but was not immobilised by the taser. The video appears to show, however, he did drop the spoon he was holding, so at this point he doesn't have any weapons in his hand. He's still not being compliant to the police, but he's still not being threatening either. The video also appears to show police ordering Cherry to get to the ground as he walks while picking at the barbs. The officer tases him a second time, then Cherry screams, falls to the ground, and he stands back on his feet. The officer pushes him against the squad car. Cherry gets away from officers and begins to jog away. The video appears to show he is then tasered again by another officer. He's non-verbal. He's not being threatening at all. He is running away from perceived danger from the police. Regardless of whether that danger is there or not, he sees this danger. He doesn't know anything else. The video appears to show he's tased again by another officer. It is at this point a bystander can be heard telling him to follow the officer's orders. The officer tases him again, so that's like, 4 times now he's been tasered? But he did not fall to the ground or scream as he had before. However, he does appear to look confused and makes audible but non-verbal groaning sounds. The video appears to show the officers continuing to tell him to get on the ground as he walks around. As he walks away from officers, one of the officers hands another officer his taser, which is used on Cherry for a 5th time now. He is still being non-threatening, and the officers are just shouting at him, screaming to get down on the floor, and when he doesn't, he's being tasered again. Now, I feel I should point something out. I didn't mention it originally when I started the video because I don't believe it has any bearing on the incident itself. Cherry is a 21-year-old black autistic person. Now, what does the colour of his skin have to do with this incident? Nothing. Because I believe even if he had been white, he would have been treated exactly the same way. Yes, there are incidents where black neurotypical men are treated differently to white neurotypical. However, in this incident, the colour of his skin does not matter. What matters is he was autistic. The police would have responded the exact same way regardless. The reason why I believe that is because, and it's not really the police's fault in that sense. It's simply down to training. They are trained to one size fits all. When it comes to their training and mental health and autism and any other kind of neurological disorder, the police are not giving the training to be able to respond or even identify the characteristics in a person who has autism. I strongly believe that if the police had that training, this incident would not have happened, because they would have been able to recognise the characteristics, and their response would have been far, far different. I know this because I have previous experience working in a mental health background, namely working with adults who are severely autistic. Now, the other thing that should be said as well is that during this incident, there is a woman telling the police that Cherry is autistic. However, I wouldn't say they disregard it, because they do acknowledge it, but they still carry on as if Cherry was neurotypical. They don't take into account that he is autistic. At least that's my take on it. I mean, they may have done. The point is, we don't know, because they didn't change how they addressed him. They were still shouting, they were still screaming. Now again, I'm not going to blame the police, but you know, this is not the first time. This happens more often than we would like. And it's not even in America that this happens. This happens right here in England. There was an incident, I would say, back in 2018, I believe it was, where police shot a autistic man, again with a stun gun. The Guardian reports that a man with autism was shot with a stun gun by police and charged with assaulting an officer, but the case collapsed after his mother found CCTV footage of the incident that undermined the prosecution's case. The man from Bristol was taken to court and could have been jailed if he had been convicted by the Crown Prosecution Service. They dropped the case after the footage emerged contradicting police claims that the man pushed an officer. Avon and Somerset police insisted the use of the stun gun and the arrest were reasonable, but confirmed that an officer had been dealt with for not producing the footage. Like I say, it's not the first time, and until we have police reform, until police are instructed and trained to identify various autistic characteristics and learn how to handle things like this would happen. I think this is where we're going to leave the video today. I'm not going to ask if people enjoyed it, because I know I didn't. But I will say this. Remember, being kind, giving respect makes us stronger.